Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Before we dive into today's guide, take a quick second to hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and give this video a thumbs up if you find it helpful. It really helps us keep producing these detailed automotive breakdown guides for you every week. Today, we are taking a deep dive into one of every car owner's biggest fears, a blown head gasket. If your engine is running unusually hot, blowing strange smoke out of the exhaust, or losing coolant without any visible leaks on your driveway, you might be dealing with this exact problem. In this video, we are going to cover what a head gasket actually does, why it fails, the most common symptoms to watch out for, and a complete step-by-step diagnostic guide so you can test and confirm the issue yourself before spending thousands at a mechanic shop. To understand why a blown head gasket is such a serious issue, you first need to understand its role inside your engine. Sitting directly between the engine block and the cylinder head, the head gasket acts as a crucial high-pressure seal. It keeps three completely separate systems contained: the extreme pressures inside the combustion chambers, the high-pressure engine oil flowing to lubricate the top end, and the coolant circulating to keep the entire engine from overheating. When this gasket fails, these isolated systems start leaking into one another. So, why do head gaskets blow in the first place? By far, the number one culprit is engine overheating. When an engine gets too hot due to a failed thermostat, a broken water pump, or a clogged radiator, the metal cylinder head and engine block expand at different rates. This intense thermal expansion warps or distorts the mating metal surfaces, crushing or tearing the gasket seal. Beyond overheating, head gaskets can also fail due to extreme engine age and high mileage, pre-ignition or detonation inside the cylinders, improper head bolt torque specs during a previous repair, or subtle design flaws in specific engine models. Catching the symptoms early can mean the difference between replacing a gasket and replacing your entire engine. The first big red flag is thick, white smoke billowing from your tailpipe, especially after the engine reaches operating temperature. This happens when coolant leaks directly into the combustion chamber and burns off with the fuel, often leaving behind a distinctly sweet smell in the air. The second major symptom is dirty, contaminated engine oil. When you pull your dipstick or check under the oil filler cap, if you see a milky, yellowish-brown foam that looks like a chocolate milkshake, that means coolant and oil are mixing together. Third, you might notice consistent coolant loss with no visible puddle under the car, accompanied by an engine that overheats very quickly. Fourth, if combustion gases force their way into the cooling system, you will see violent air bubbles rising in your radiator or coolant overflow tank while the engine runs. Finally, a blown gasket causes a loss of cylinder compression, leading to rough idling, severe engine misfires, and a sudden, noticeable loss of overall engine power. If you suspect a blown head gasket, you do not have to guess. You can diagnose it step by step in your driveway or garage. Start with a careful visual inspection around the seam where the cylinder head meets the block for external oil or coolant weeping, and inspect your oil cap for that telltale milky sludge. If visual checks are inconclusive, your best next step is a chemical combustion leak test, commonly known as a block test. You attach a specialized dual-chamber tester filled with a blue test fluid directly to your open radiator neck or coolant expansion tank. With the engine running, you draw air from the cooling system up through the fluid. If combustion gases like carbon dioxide are leaking into your coolant, the blue fluid will chemically react and turn yellow or green. This is one of the fastest and most reliable ways to prove a breach between the combustion chamber and the cooling system. To pinpoint the exact cylinder or location of the failure, you can perform a standard cylinder compression test. Remove all of your spark plugs, thread a compression gauge into each cylinder one by one, and crank the engine over. If two adjacent cylinders show significantly lower compression readings than the rest, there is a very high probability that the gasket has blown directly between those two cylinders. For an even more definitive answer, follow up with a cylinder leak-down test. This involves rotating each cylinder to top dead center and feeding regulated compressed air directly into the spark plug hole. If you hear air escaping into the intake manifold or tailpipe, you have a valve issue, but if you see air bubbles rising inside the radiator neck or hear air rushing out of the oil fill cap, you have officially confirmed a blown head gasket. Additionally, you can use a cooling system pressure tester to pump manual pressure into the radiator and monitor if the system bleeds down over time. If your diagnostic tests confirm a blown head gasket, stop driving the vehicle immediately. Continuing to run an engine with a blown gasket will wash out your rod and main bearings, warp your cylinder head beyond repair, or cause a catastrophic hydraulic lock that destroys the engine entirely.